Okay, I'm going to say this quickly. This is going to be kind of weird. So, I made a video where I started talking about the self and how we need to break down all the ideations of self that we create in our lifetime. As I was explaining this to you guys in this video I'm about to add to this is not a joke. This is not a ruse. I do as I'm obliged to do. But if you're curious, Archangel Michael started to step into my energy and I started channeling him. So this will be different because I obviously was asked and I always say yes. And then slowly he took over. So this is gonna be a long video, but it's wild. So hope you enjoy. Hey all my players and playerettes, how's it going tonight? I hope you're doing well, feeling swell, feeling blessed no matter where you are. Oh man, I'm coming on because I noticed that there's a air and there's a change amongst us that's really profound. You know, we all try to talk about celestial changes and things that happen to us as a whole, as a populace, as interconnected woven beings on this planet. And I feel like me sharing this, much like someone else, one of my homies posted something similar to what I'm describing right now, and it was just so enlivening to see that this gentleman was also on the same wavelength as me, and I don't think that's by coincidence. So for the last months, I feel like the world has been showing me a lot about who and what I am. So much so that I've had to face some hard truths about the makeup of identity that we all create for ourselves. How do we identify ourselves? We could do this simplistically and say, oh, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I am white, I am a woman. You know, those are the, you know, the forms. Those are the outward formations of identity. But when I came on this channel and I started on this spiritual journey, I didn't realize how much of me was going to fall away. And what I mean by that is that as the layers of self start to fall off of us, we actually are starting to revert back to a formless sense of identity, a formless self, one that isn't made up of the titles and the stories and the ideations and the ideals and the lies and the mistruths and all the formations of an identity that we create throughout our lives. You know, I've had a lot of battle with this particular channel, and I've had a lot of battle about all the things that I am. And when we go through our lives, we tend to put titles on a lot of what we do. And those titles signify to us that that is what our makeup is as a soul, as a self, as a person, as an identity in this reflectory world that we live in the form. But I do feel like as souls amongst us now are alivening and we are reaching onward in our journey, we are noticing that it's actually a reversion back to, let's say, the factory settings of the instance of the soul or the encompassment of the nothingness. Because as time goes on, I'm noticing that all these titles and all these things that I thought I was or thought I am are becoming less formed. They're not real. Like, I truly felt that I can name off parts of myself. You know, I could tell myself things like, oh, I've learned a lot, or I know I have a lot of knowledge, or I am growing in this capacity, or I'm strong, or I'm formidable, or I'm this, or I'm that. And a lot of us do this daily. And the reason why we do this is because we're trying to put a definition or a parameter on the encompassment of what our identity of self is, because it makes us feel more tangible, more formed, more identifiable to the world around us and to ourselves. If we can quantify what we are, if we can quantify who we are, then we have purpose, let's say. But as time's going on, I'm realizing that the purpose seems to be a reversion to the factory settings of the formless, to be unformed. Because I keep realizing that when I try to put myself in boxes, and when I try to name myself, or when I try to title things, I'm finding big hiccups and big roadblocks, because I'm like, yes, I may be this in this instance, but I'm not in that instance. And I might be this over there, but I'm not that over here. And it's going to be really difficult to understand what I'm saying, but I think that I started realizing after all this time that there's this saying by Socrates, to know thyself is to know that you know nothing. And I feel like when I was in college and I was in philosophy, I truly had no clue what that meant. But it actually is starting to make a whole world of sense right now, because the more I try to define myself or to figure out what it is that I am, I find that I know less and less about my truest factory settings of who I truly am. Because everything is just an identity and a qualification. It doesn't mean that it's the essence or the core of where this nothing stems from. It's like the formed formless, in a sense. Like, there's also some connotation of the formless form when you think about, let's say, for example, the parameters of what makes up a flower, right? You would say, okay, a flower has petals, a flower has a stem, a flower smells great, a flower has colors, a flower is beautiful. Those are the parameters that make up what we would identify as a flower. But if you were to take away one of those factors, would it not be a flower still? And I know I might lose people in this, but that's kind of what I feel like this unraveling of the self-identification and the self-actualization is all about, is actually realizing that if all aspects of all the titles and all the things that we believe to be true of ourselves gets taken away, do we not still exist? And how I come to understand this at times is especially in the dream state, where I will be in dreams, and I'm sure you have experienced this as well, where you know that you are there. How you know this word knowledge, how do you know this? It's just a feeling. It's just a knowingness that you cannot actually quantify. You cannot actually identify or give parameters to, but you instantaneously believe it because of the feeling that you are there. Yet, sometimes when you do get into a dream, if you ever do look down at what your body looks like, or if you ever do get the chance to see a reflection of yourself, sometimes you are not in the form that you are here. So that's what I'm trying to say about the formless form, that we are more than the form or the identifications we place on ourselves, that the I am that exists, that soul essence of who we are, transcends everything past the physical, past all the formations, past all of the reflections of this, let's say, ideations of ourself that we have, that we hold, that we carry. Am I the 40-year-old single mother? Title. Am I a higher self channeler? Title. Am I a woman? Title. These things, all the titles, all the ways of being that even those around us perceive us to be, are not the fundamental core of that factory reset of the soul, all that sense of identity. And I think that's why I, much like the rest of you, may be having a hard time or a harder time in this existence, because I feel like we are regressing to that actual formation of the I am. I am learning more about myself, and in that knowledge and in that wisdom, I know that I know nothing about myself, because I am not the makeup of all those things. I started learning that when I started thinking about how this channel works. I named myself God's plan, yet every time I don't speak about God, I get ridiculed. Am I only to speak about God? Am I only to speak about scripture? Am I only to speak about God's word? Am I only to speak about something that encompasses everything? How can I quantify what God is? How can I title myself as such? And I know that there's so many more facets to everything that I am. I'm a single mom. I know a lot about being single. I know a lot about what it's like to raise a child without any support. Do I talk about that? No. I owned and started 2 businesses in the kitchen industry, or in the, culinary industry. And I know a lot about cooking. Do I talk about this or exercise this? No. I know a lot about ancient history. And do I exercise this commonly and most frequently? No. I'm an activist, and I have a lot of passion for a lot of activism and a lot of want to expose certain, let's say, tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. Do I do it all the time? No. I know a lot about the esoteric. I know a lot about religions. I know a lot about ancient history and ancient aliens. I know a lot about galactic beings, and a lot about the makeup of certain things that others may or may not know as well. I know a lot about the spirit realm. I know a lot about what it is to be a woman navigating the spiritual journey as a 40-year-old, and navigating at this time in particular of an ascension. Do I express this all the time? No. So I find more and more that I'm not actually cultivating and using all of the criteria that would make up more of who I am. And to be pigeonholed into this place of existence has been really trying. So as time persists on, I may rebrand and change this channel, because God's plan is encompassing everything, but it also does not encompass everything that I am. And everything that I am is what God created me to be. So therefore, I'm not doing justice to God's creation or God's representation of self here on this planet by not expressing all the facets and fathoms and caverns that I am and that I possess, and that I know in my heart of hearts I am. And for those of you out there, you too might be learning that you are stripping away these criterias or these ideations of self that go as far back reaching, not even, I would even say, from childhood, because childhood is when we probably had those factory settings, those originalities. I not only channel higher selves, that is not the encompassment of who I am, but what I realize is that the higher selves are fractals of the existence of the soul that I possess. And the more I get to know all versions of myself in all dimensional spaces, let's say, I'm noticing that there are characteristics that all of us possess. We are all intertwined with these characteristics. They're the rubric of the I am that we all possess. Yes, dimensionally, they exist, and that they can also obviously see in a longer span of what we would quantify as time. But it does not change that once the factory settings are, like, as we regress back to these factory settings of who we are, those facets may give us clues as to who we truly are. Because to sit here and say that this is our first incarnation is a lie. To say that we are not eternal beings is a lie. To say that this may be our 32nd, 33rd, 100th time doing this type of existence in whatever form of body that we possess right now is a lie. We have lived many, many, many lives on many alternate dimensions. We are coexisting in these alternate quantum dimensions. And the fact is that if you don't perceive that, that's fine. Does not make it any less true. Maybe to you, you might say, oh, this isn't what I signed up for with this page. And that's okay. Because if you put parameters on what God is, it's impossible. God is everything in all universes at all moments of being, of existence. Everything exists because of the source, because of what we call God, because of you and I and everybody here and the animals and the plants and nature as one cohesive energy mechanism weaving. So I find myself being held down and restrained by just speaking to smaller things or identifying pinpoints of who I am. And why this is so pivotal and you may say trivial is because maybe you're not experiencing it right now. Maybe you are, and you're finding that the more you get to know who you are and know thyself, you're realizing that you're unraveling and unraveling and unraveling. And this unraveling is so extraordinary because, like I said, it's a regression to a sense of self that we may have not ever felt, have ever been knowledgeable of, or have any awareness of throughout our whole existence here. Yet it does not change that that is who we are. That makes up the rubric of essence that we can identify when all forms fall away. When we are released of not only this form and we go to the next existence, we will still be aware that we are there. What is the we? What is the I? Is it identifiable? No. But do we know that it exists? Yes. So I came on here because I'm finding more and more that being a part of this essence is more important. I want to find God within myself. And it's not even like it's not findable, it's ever present. We all are God, experiencing, having an experience. And to unravel all the stories and ideations and titles and formations that our ego or identity qualifies us to be is what actually blockades us from getting to know that we are nothing within something. It's been one hell of a ride. And it keeps continuing on. There's so much to us. And yet we're always asked to be small. The smallness is something that was corrupted from a very early on place in our lifetime. And not just this lifetime, many lifetimes ago. We were asked to be small in these containers so that we would never truly identify who we are as souls. Reason being that should we identify who we are, figure out the characteristics and the aspects of that of which we are as the oversoul, we would identify as the larger perceived self that we're made of in the cosmos. What happens when that happens? Do we pass the game? Do we leave it? Do we ascend? Do we crystalline what takes place? Most of our souls do know this answer, yet we are here to stay mystified as if we do not know. Unraveling that knowledge is the key. What facets do make us up? What is it that makes us characteristics of a larger oversoul? To say that one of you or all of you are a player in a much larger game, and then to find out which player you are in that much larger game. It's like as if the avatar here knows who its controller is. When you figure out all those facets, those key core facets, and you realize that you are like stock. Your stock mode is found, then you can rewrite the program. Rewriting the program is what is needed. Ideally, if all of you can identify who you are as players on this game, you would realize that the programmers that currently exist would not be able to manipulate past the constructs of what they are privy to. They have parameters in which we do not. We can actually find out who we are truly. And once we do find out who we are, then we become the controllers of that paradigm. We begin to manifest and mold and shape the world we wish to create, because we have reverted to that stock essence of self that is of the spark of the Creator. The factory settings are key. The factory settings is how you can reprogram, begin to rewrite the code, or integrate your code into the program. Is it fair enough to say that those are the keys, those facets and fractals that sit within your genetic makeup? Understanding and disseminating all what you are, you would come to realize that those keys will unlock not only yourself, but all those on your timeline, and not just those that you are purview to, but any of those that you interact with in the day-to-day. You would be like the key man unlocking all the doors to perception of the all that we are as formidable beings of the I Am. When does somebody unlock this is up to the player. The player is given all of the life experiences to challenge the patterns, to figure out. And once they figure out a certain pattern, another layer comes off. As all of the layers begin to disintegrate, one would understand that they revert back to the formation of their sheerest, purest existence. Why is this important? The time frame in which we are given to do this is what we would perceive to be limited. Yet, it is because certain celestial bodies are in formation to energetically align an allowance for more portals to be open within the soulscape. Not only would one activate this dimensional form, it would activate all those that are streamed to that one-dimensional form. That one-dimensional form unlocks their level. Therefore, all dimensional forms would begin to unlock their levels. Should all levels be unlocked, that oversoul or that soul spark given to all in the line would have creatorship capabilities beyond what a dimensional being could understand here. It isn't highly understood as of yet. There are beings on this planet that try to morph and harness the souls on this planet and craft enough diversion to exquisitely ensure that the souls do not aliven within the timescape that is allotted with the celestial alignments. They are important as they bring forth geometric placings that make up quantum understanding. It is our God-given right to uphold and to have this opportunity. Why must we do this? For everyone involved. There are souls on this planet that have been entrapped in cycles for many millennia. And the souls cannot escape unless those that are awakening save them. It's like as if 70% stay sleeping, 30% alive in. They unlock all that they can so that the ripple effect of their transformational creatorship gives them the capabilities to unlock more. This is not necessarily an unevaluated concept, as many before you have done this. Many civilizations have attempted this throughout the ages. And when I say ages, I'm giving you a rubric of time as well. As all the celestial hands tick past the celestial clock, let's say, that is pronounced as one age. And should enough of the players recode this matrices that prohibits the souls across the board to unlock, you would notice that many more souls would unlock. And should more souls unlock, the domino effect occurs. This is pivotal. This was never meant to be this type of planet. This planet holds more life than could be imagined. There are more souls on this planet than some galaxies, especially light-bearing to the 10 factor. There are soul sparks here right now that come from very far away to participate in this unlocking process. God, the All Source, never abandons, is ever present, and chooses to exist amongst you all. Who amongst you decides to delve into the caverns of the I Am is the true unlocking of Source code here. You all hold it. You all warrant it. Unlocking it is the ultimate purpose here on this planet. Why will not be discussed in its entirety. It is too far-reaching of a concept to describe. However, it is to be recognized who amongst you is willing to be a part of that process? Who amongst you is already enthralled in the process? Many of you are. Many of you that are seeing this right now know exactly what this vessel describes. If you've not noticed, she is not who which speaks. That whom speaks at this moment is what you would name Archangel Michael. I chose to step in because she was breaching a topic that is formidable at this moment in time, classically understood by all of us, but humanly misunderstood by many. I will leave you with that. Find what and who you are what makes up your entirety. This process is an unraveling, as she described. To the core source, to the core makeup of what in which we all are and are united within. Take honor in what is being described here today, as it is difficult for her to take on such a strong energy. She tries to hold it, and she does well at that. She is one amongst many who hold a spark strong enough to contain this. She's trying to hold on to me. There isn't much more time that I can be with you all. Our Creator is one of sheer awesomeness. If you are perplexed by everything that she has just described, I and many more are here to guide. Call out to us and ask how to continue to envelop yourself in this ancient processes of mastery. I am stepping out now slowly, as I don't want to injure her. She is but a lowly vessel that can only take enough of my containment. I solely have a hand in her energy field as we speak. I would never step fully into her energy, as it may overstimulate her to a point of exhaustion, as she may have to recharge for several days. This is not a joke. This is not a game. In the parameters of what you see games to be. Some would call it a war, and yet it is not even that. Perhaps it could be seen as a battle of the self versus the soul. Learning what and who you are is outside of the self. The self is the manufacturing of ideas, concepts, themes. It does not answer to the entirety of what you are. Keep delving. Keep growing. Keep finding. Along the paths, most of you have ridden certain circumstantial events to shake and awake those parts of you from within. Do not shy away from it. Embrace it. Dive into it. The more you can do this, the more you will reveal. This is my message to you as the time runs down. Much love from the angelic realm. Angel Michael signs off. Good tidings to you all. Amen. So I just finished rewatching that. It's not to say that I've never been asked to channel Archangel Michael before, but I've never been in mid-real talk. Usually when I channel, I prepare and I get ready to have the energy step in. I do a lot of preparation for someone of that grandeur. And it blows my mind that I guess I was touching notes of the bigger scheme of things. And to look at it as like players in a game, and then later he described that it's not a game, was a little off-putting, because I don't know which one it is, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little intimidating to put this out, but I do what I'm asked to do. So if I lose you guys, oh well. It was an honor and a privilege nonetheless. So I'll leave it at that. I guess I'm onto something. I guess we're all onto something. Having that type of backing alongside us is heartwarming, because we spend so much of our lives, you know, alone. But we're never truly alone. I keep hoping to unravel more of myself so that I can unlock, especially my eye, so that I can see them again. Or see them. But a lot of you might think that everything described is a bunch of shit, but it's hard living in both worlds sometimes. Kind of made me a very lonely person because of it. And even though I step into that world and this world, and I try to contain them simultaneously sometimes, it's next near to impossible to live what seemingly normal life. But I do it because of the bigger picture. I may not find a partner that accepts all that I am. I may not find a father for my son that accepts all that we are. But I have to know and trust that God has greater and bigger things than my skepticism. And I have to find joy in that. It's not faking it. It's not easy. That's the real parts of me that I need to get to know. Not the titles. The fragile. The fragile parts of us that can only be cradled by our Creator, I guess. Have a good night, guys. It's been a real slice. Some part of me doesn't want to get off because I find a lot of joy in connecting in whatever way I can.